Okay, next up, tab 1410 is Human Services.
Get used to the tabs.
Good evening, everyone. We have with us tonight our chair of our commission, Mary Lee Barker. We have Nancy Fund, our Youth Services Director, Lee Canning, our Director at the Senior Center, and Jeanette Glicksman. She's our Youth Services Program Coordinator. One of our commission members, Sharon Bender, was here earlier but had to leave for a class. So anyway, I thought I would start by reviewing our capital budget first.
Right at the beginning.
I want to start by saying that our transportation program is one of the most important programs in town for our seniors. We don't really have a bus that comes up only to JCC, but unless we provide transportation to our seniors for medical appointments, the bank, shopping, and then we do provide transportation to the senior center for socialization. You know, they wouldn't have a way of getting around. So it's a very important program to maintain, to keep seniors here in town. Going back to 2007, we used to get a federal grant. We used to apply for a program through the Greater New Haven Transit District. Right now we have 2 buses, they're called leases, where we were able to apply for these grants. Greater New Haven Transit actually owns the buses. They would get a grant, give us the money for 80% of the cost, and the town would have to come up with 20% of the cost. Effective 2007, those grants were terminated. They're no longer in existence, so we had to put the money into the capital outlay budget. I do want to commend our mechanics who have taken such great care of the vehicles and our drivers. They've really saved the town money, and I do commend them each year, I know, when I come here. But meeting with former employee Joe Adalizzi and our former mechanic, things were starting to happen to the vehicle. There is some rot underneath, so we determined that it would be appropriate to place it in fiscal year 15 budget. The second vehicle for fiscal year 16, that would be a replacement of our 2008 vehicle. Again, I'm not sure about the fiscal year 16 because we assess the vehicles every year, so we may be bumping that up. There could be a good chance. I do want to mention that we've been in touch with the State Department of Transportation. There is a possibility that we could apply for 2 grants. One is called the 5310 grant. I will tell you it's very competitive. I've sat on the board at the Council of Governments a few times to determine who gets that grant in the past. And now that senior centers, are out there with transportation programs, there's going to be other senior centers applying for programs, whereas maybe in the past you'd see adult daycare centers, maybe Mary Wade Home, places like that getting the grants. They will notify Ellen and myself when those grant applications are available. And then secondly, a meeting with Ellen and Tony to go over our budget, we talked about the possibility of a grant for a vehicle that's fueled by gas, natural gas. So I did contact the state, and there is a program that does offer grants. They gave me an example. I think it was the Greater Hartford Transit District received a few vehicles last year. The ballpark was maybe $27,000. As far as the other grant goes, it's entirely new guidelines. So at this point, I couldn't tell you, what it's going to be. In the past, it was about $40,000 that organizations were able to obtain. So we'll stay on top of that and see what happens. I do want to mention we developed a committee this year working with a member of our commission, actually 2 of them, Janet Charliglio, who owns a bus and is a bus driver, Sharon Bender. She's our representative on Greater New Haven Transit District Board. And Mary Lee's been there, Lee Canning, and myself, and we broadened the committee to our advisory board members and a bus driver. And we also have met with the towns of Bethany, Orange, and North Haven. They're also interested in looking to pursue a vehicle. So we have DATCO Bus Company came to Woodbridge. They brought a bus. We did look at it. And we do know that, you know, if we're granted the money, we'd have to go out to bid. But we're looking at different vehicles. There's many safety issues now that we don't have on our vehicles. So that's a good point. I do want to mention, for those of you who are new, we have the 2 buses right now. They're 12-passenger vehicles with 2 wheelchair hookups. And we also have an old car that's been a godsend from the police department. Reason being, you cannot take those vehicles on the Merritt Parkway, so if we have to go to medical appointments, then we use the car as long as someone isn't in a wheelchair. And that's been a godsend. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on the capital part. I do want to briefly mention we do assess our kitchen equipment each year, and you know, in the 90s we put it into capital outlay. But at this point, we have a meal program twice a week, and what we'd like to do is assess the individual equipment rather than bundle it. And we want to make sure, in other words, that when we're purchasing equipment for the kitchen, we truly need it and not just put it in the budget for sake of getting new equipment. So I just want to let you know, we looked at that. Most of the equipment is under $5,000, and that's why, you know, we don't put it into the capital at this point. If we need something, we would put it into the operating. Okay. Any questions? Yes. Go ahead.
I had one question going back to the vehicle. The budgeted dollar amount was $63,000. Is that for a specific vehicle that you looked at? And
12 passenger, yes.
It's another 12 passenger.
Yes, and when we met with DATCO, you know, we looked, because I did get some quotes from Greater New Haven Transit District, and, you know, that's basically in the ballpark.
Okay, only because at the top it said it was a 14-passenger lift-equipped bus. Was that for?
Well, that's with the 2 wheelchair hookups.
I see.
12-passenger plus.
12 passenger turns to 14.
Right, I'm sorry.
In working with the other towns, Mary, is there an opportunity to do some bulk purchasing and reduce the price?
Not really. I did check with Greater New Haven Transit District, but to buy a vehicle for next fiscal year, we would have had to have that money in the budget already, like in January, to purchase it for the next fiscal year. But basically, with DATCO, for example, they have a state contract. So they would give us the best price they possibly could. Yeah, we did check into that.
Other than grants, is the ultimate request that you get a new vehicle for fiscal year 15 and place it on the road with the current vehicles too,
Yes.
that we have 2 old ones, and then I noticed obviously in fiscal year 16 a second vehicle. Would that then?
One of the vehicles would go back to Greater New Haven Transit District.
So that's my question.
Yes,
So in
I'm
the
sorry.
end, you would end up with
2.
Still
Two.
Two.
Right.
Yeah, so it would be a replacement.
Thank you. Just wanted to-
Anything else on capital? So why don't we get to your budget now?
Okay.
And just any highlights,
Yes,
anything in particular you want to mention?
Basically, what I did was, any of the increases I highlighted in the letter of transmittal, and if I can just go over those briefly with you. I do want to mention, through our fundraising efforts and grants, we were able to raise $43,046 last fiscal year. We do get a $14,000 Department of Education grant, which is applied to the Youth Services Director's salary. And also, our Youth Services Director does apply for a grant which is a little less than $5,000 that actually Beecher Road School gets for what's called an after-school guided study program. And we've been receiving that for a number of years to help the students there. Okay, I just want to go through each line item that has an increase. First of all, there is an increase under clerical salary of $3,224 to cover an increase of 4 hours per week for the senior center. This is due to the impact in programming. We're getting busier and busier, and it's very difficult for us to keep up with all the calls, the programs, the seniors coming into the offices, and so forth. Right now, the clerical assistant works 20 hours per week. This would bring it up to 24. The majority of senior centers have, in addition to clerical assistants, they have activity coordinators. We don't. Lee has to do the majority of programming. A few of the other programs are split up. This would give her some additional help down in the senior center for programming. The next increase is a slight increase of $150 for repair and maintenance, needed to cover the cost of equipment maintenance for computers, printers, any of the fax machines. We have not had an increase in that line item, but every time we have a maintenance person in to repair, it's been more and more. And as a result, in fiscal year, $1,933 was expended, which was an increase of 10.45. And this past year, we've had a lot of issues with maintenance. So next is gas to cover the transportation program, an increase of $1,500. As of December 9th, last month, $3,288 was expended. And next, a request of $9,820. And this is going to be for the senior center. I'd like to further explain this. First, I'll start out talking about our portable ramp. Several times over the history of the senior center, we've reviewed the evacuation plan of the senior center in case of fire. And it would be very difficult because we have stairs at every exit. We've looked at ramps, but to be in compliance with ADA, you have to go for every step. You know, it's 3 feet back. We would just need a mammoth ramp, and there just is no room. So we came up with the idea of purchasing a portable ramp just to be kept in back of the door of the main entrance in case there was ever a fire. We had the fire marshal come over and look at it. Someone brought in a sample. It would only be $350. We are working on a program in the spring with the fire marshal to have just a routine fire drill and to talk about fire safety. So we really feel that that's very important. The next part of our request, I do want to explain to you, has to do with room 13, which is going to be an activities room for us, mostly used for the senior center, but also youth services. And we had done our capital outlay budget in the fall, and we were under the assumption that room 13, which now houses facilities, would be moving over to the town garage in 2 years. And then when we assessed it further after the capital budget was done, we found out it's probably going to be next year, maybe November, December. So we put in the following. We would like to do a few things with that room. One, move the computer room, lab, up to room 13. There's 3 rooms there if you're familiar with it. And that would be in the front room. And to do so, it would cost about $500 to install Wi-Fi and move the cables. We had Omni come in and give us an evaluation of that. What we would like to do is split up the senior center office, keep the clerical assistant in one office, and then move Lee's office into the part where the computers are, and put up a wall. And we did get an estimate of about $4,000 to wall off the area, and that includes carpentry, electrical, and painting. I do invite everyone to stop by and take a look at these rooms, and I think if you saw them and saw what the office was like, that it would be much more efficient working to split that office up and give us more area too for storage. We are at such a lack of storage. I do want to mention too that we have two big obstacles there. One is the building, and one is the other challenge is to maintain the programming that we have for the seniors that come there now, but also to develop new programs for the baby boomers. And a couple things, you may see a lot of activities at the senior center, but you're also going to see us doing other programs outside the box. We have some new programs like a walking group that is over at the cornfields. We have done a whole variety of other different programming that is not always going to be there, but there are certain programs that are going to have to be held at the senior center. And while all these other senior centers are building what we call Taj Mahal senior centers, we feel that given the space at the center, we could make it presentable because it is very important. We've gotten some negative comments on the rooms there. We have like Marjan meeting down the hall, and if you were to look at that room, I mean, the rug is all wavy, it needs to be painted. They want really a clean, presentable space, and we feel that we can do it economically, cost-effective within that room. And what we would like to do is purchase training tables and chairs for that room. And that room can be used for training, it can be used for courses for the senior center, for courses for youth services. The list that Mary Lee passed out outlines the programs for the senior center, youth services, and also we would have CPR and first aid training in that room. We would like to purchase, not out of operating money though, out of fundraising money, a screen, a monitor. Tony did ask me when we did present to him and Ellen, could even your group or someone in the evening come in and use it? And yes, they can. So these are the ideas that we have. We have developed other new programs for the center, such as Zumba, Gold, a book club. Also would be meeting in there. They meet down in the old youth services room now. And a fourth new program is the Lunch Bunch. Once a month, the bus takes seniors who can't get out to a restaurant, and they get out, they socialize. It's a lot less expensive for them to go for lunch. And, they pay for the bus, and they pay for their own lunch. So these are the different programs that, are kind of outside the box that are new to us. Also, I do want to mention with youth services, in the budget packet, we did a separate budget for them. They continue to provide excellent positive youth development programs. They're at the schools, working with the students on all kinds of programs. Nancy runs an adventure program down at Hopkins School, which is a ropes course, and it's a confidence building program for youth over at the middle school. She's done a divorce panel. Her and Jeanette work together. Jeanette does the after-school programming over at the middle school, which is very important. Studies have shown that kids, especially middle school age, are getting into trouble after school. So you want to keep these students busy in positive programs. Also, the youth evening program they run. So we did include the budget for the youth evening program and the after-school program. I do want to mention again, too, Bethany pays their share. It's all broken down by attendance. The attendance to Woodbridge went up slightly last year, so it's, another percent maybe that Woodbridge is paying, but it's all based on attendance. They keep accurate statistics. They've come up with some creative programs. We have a good staff. We really do. They really give it their all.
Are there any questions for Mary Ellen?
As usual, she's done a great job presenting, and they, as we all know, they do a great job of taking care of the needs of the town in this regard. So, are there any questions at all?
Just have a comment. I've had the opportunity to work with a few of the groups there and with Mary Ellen, and I just want to tell you that I think you do a fantastic job, and the staff does, with all these programs. It serves so many more people than we all realize, and I know that you've reached out to serve others. I think that your budget request is very reasonable. You do a tremendous amount with not a heck of a lot of budget, so thank you very much.
You have the commission too. I do want to mention that. They've been very supportive
Top
and
to
they work
bottom, it's a
hard.
great
so
department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the registrars, which is 11:30.
No PowerPoint, sorry. Okay. Like Mary Ellen, I just read the letter of transmittal, which covers any of the changes, the increases in our budget. Historically, I should just say, for the new people, our budget basically follows the election schedule. So if we have an increase in number of elections, we have an increase in our budget. If we have a decrease in planned elections, then we decrease our budget. Unfortunately, next year is an increase. Next year, there are 5 known elections. 3 of these elections will require double staffing with regard to the 2 polling districts that we were given last year. We are planning on a Democratic and Republican state primary in August, state election in November, municipal election in May of 2015, and the Amity budget referendum. Due to the increase of these elections, our overall budget has increased. All line items directly associated with the elections have been increased. We now have to staff EDR, which is Election Day registration. That requires 2 staff members during Election Day to be in a separate location from the polling site, and we'll staff that as well. New items are coming: electronic check-in, which will be poll books at the elections, and you'll be checked off electronically. It is actually a time saver because later in the night and later in the week we'll be able to do the who voted just by printing a report, and nobody has to actually enter that data anymore. So that's new. Any questions?
There was a discussion last week.
When we approved the Beach Road project, that we decided to go to referendum ballpark, to do a referendum.
Referendum is a lot less than a federal election. We're still, Loredana worked to try and get a ballpark. It really depends on if you add in our line item of salaries, because we work many additional hours around a referendum. If you just handle the actual line items, the employees, the ballots, the machines, the staffing such as Williams time, the police, public works, all of that, and you didn't include us.
I did.
Our stuff. I know, but if you didn't,
Right, if you didn't.
because we are a salary item, and we adjust for that. It's still around $4,000. If you, yeah.
That's Is that per incident?
Per incident.
So if there's two,
Yeah, it's double, right.
it'd be,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, no, I'm just curious.
And
Do
the
we have to
federal is
specify-
closer to 10,000. Bearing in mind that we don't have to run two districts for a referendum.
Any questions?
It's
Yeah.
basically bare bones.
Right,
It's what we have to do.
It's driven by what you anticipate.
It's mandated. There aren't any choices, you know, short of not doing it.
Except yes or no.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay.
Quick enough.
Thank you.
You guys do a great job.
Vote today? So if you want to go over her budget, we could.
So you can go over it or without her, she said.
What's that?
Her budget.
Stephanie's budget.
You can go over it if you want.
Yeah, we might as well.
Yeah. So the
1125?
similarly to the registrars, the large increase in the town clerk's budget is the election supplies, which is 2 from the bottom, which is for the same reasons that the registrars just indicated, which is for increased supplies when there's increased elections. You see that down at the bottom?
Yeah.
That's really the
So
major
it's like,
increase.
yeah, it's most of what our increase is.
Yeah. The others are small increases for, $100 here, $500 here.
Right.
That's the major increase.
Okay, yeah, so the forms come out of town clerk.
Correct. The ballots, it's in forms come out of her office, or out of her budget.
And that whole scanning historic enterprises by grant money, correct?
There's some money in there up on general professional services,
Oh, I see.
which is 4 from the top. And that's for restoration services for land records, vital statistics, tax, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, okay,
So that's
good.
part of that, is
All right.
restoring.
Yeah.
That's the town's contribution to restoring those records. And then she does get grant funds in addition to that to
I
help
see.
supplement
All
that.
right, thanks for the clarification.
Sure.
Okay, are there any questions on the town clerk? All right, so next is the fire commission, which is tab 1230. I guess we had 2 new pages we're supposed to insert. Did everybody get these?
Did you, I think Karen did them already.
Yeah, Karen actually.
Oh, yeah? Oh, those are, oh, okay, oh, because Lawrence's book wasn't here, all right. You gotta do it yourself.
Sorry.
You want Karen to come in?
We've got a clerical line item.
Okay, Sean. Why don't you just go through and highlight the areas that, show larger increases and whatever
Okay.
else you think it's pertinent to mention.
Okay, part-time clerical, I believe it was at 26 hours. Right now, we're having secretary work 28 hours, and we're looking to increase it to 29 hours. That's what the increase is there. All the other, the fire chief, the fire marshal, the assistant fire chief, the commission went with a 2.25% increase across the board, which was what the town does. The next line item that we increased by $3,000 was the data processing line. This is the Walker Group. These are the people we brought in 3 years ago. These are our IT consultants and help. The reason for the increase is, one, they need to do a couple more. The prices are going to go up slightly, but the other reason is right now we have 4 visits with them a year. And what we're looking to do is, on their recommendation, because when they come down every 3 months, we usually have a laundry list of things for them to do, is do it every 2 months. So we would increase, we'd have an increase of 2 more visits per year with the Walker Group. Repair maintenance vehicle. These are all the inspections. We increased it by $2,000 because there are going to be price increases across the board on all these things. These are the NFPA OSHA inspections, the yearly pump testing, the hose testing, the ladder testing, the fit testing, all the testing that we have to do to meet the criteria. In case something does happen, say with a ladder and it does fail, they come in and OSHA and everybody's going to want to see your inspections and your testing abilities. So when we do all these things with the hose, with the ladder testing, we all get, and pump testing, we get a report back for each thing, so we have a record of it. and we know if it passed or failed. And with the hose testing we saw last year, we failed quite a bit of hose, and that's why we came back to you in July or August for additional funding to purchase hose. Repair maintenance of the building, last year, we increased that to $25,000. We asked for $33,500. We anticipate spending $33,500 this year, so we put in the budget next year. We anticipate spending right around $33,500. $33,500 is roughly where we've come in the last 4 years. So that also includes the sprinkler testing, the HVAC contracts, the fire alarm costs associated with the building. If we have an issue with the fire alarm and we have to bring fire tech in, that's usually about $500 or $600. The elevator testing and inspections, and the sprinkler. So we have maintenance contracts with all these people, and the bulk of that money is mostly our maintenance contracts. Going down, rentals and equipment, trash removal, the copier rental, the linens, the rental of the oxygen canisters. We increased that by $1,000 just in case there's an increase in that line or on any of those things, because that line is usually pretty tight. Training, we increased training by $2,000. As a matter of fact, next week we're doing ice rescue training out on the lake. We're going to do it next Tuesday night, either at Lake Chamberlain or Lake Dawson. If anybody wants to come out and take a look at it, we're good. Yeah. We're going to be doing Fire Officer 1 this year, and we actually we got 4 new firefighters this year, which was good. So we have to outfit them. We have to send them for training, and we also going to have to supply gear for them. The next one of the big line item increases this year was programs and publicity. This line item is all the fire prevention material. It's the little red fire hats, the coloring books, the stickers, the stickers that go on the kids' windows. So if there is a fire, you go around, you're looking for these stickers, you know which is the kids' room that we could focus on. If we do have a fire and there are kids trapped in the house, we would be able to locate the room by the outside before the windows go up. So the reason for the major increase is we do a lot of programs throughout the year. We do the Fire Prevention Safety Day, the Eva Block Memorial Day, which is usually in March. We bring the Fire Bullock safety trailer in for the public, and they see what a kitchen fire is, and they actually use a simulated extinguisher, and they feel a little bit of heat, and they put the fire out. It's a simulation. Along with that, there's also a setup in the trailer for a bedroom in case there's a fire in the bedroom, what you're supposed to do, how you get down on the floor and you find the door, and all the clean air is down below, and it goes over fire extinguisher training and a bunch of other things, so which is really good. And we usually get about 300 or 400 people that day usually. So it's a good way to get back to the community to do fire prevention within the community. We also did our second annual Truck or Treat, which is a big event. We usually get about 2,000 people. We got about 2,000 people this year. Last year, because of the storm, we had about 3,500 people. We hand out coloring books, the red fire hats, and we also do fire prevention to roughly 1,000 kids in the town. So we go to Beecher School. We're usually at Beecher School for a few days. We do kindergarten through, I believe it's 3rd grade or 4th grade. And then we do like Trinity Community School. We do Montessori, do the daycares in town. So we go around and do a lot of fire prevention. So this line item is strictly for fire prevention. And all it does is it purchases all the fire hats, stickers, badges, everything you see. Technical, We went from 30 to 35,000. We anticipate a cost increase of supplies this year. That purchases the speedy drive for motor vehicle accidents that we put down. If there's fuel on the ground, oil on the ground, antifreeze on the ground, first aid supplies, Band-Aids, gauze, head blocks, collars for people in motor vehicle accidents. It really covers a lot. It almost covers all the day-to-day supplies, basically. And the other thing is, I had Tony come to the firehouse last week to take a walk through and take a look at the equipment. And I mean, you guys see a lot. You guys see a lot of this on paper, and we're here asking every year for this or that. But we'd welcome if you guys want to take a tour or you want to come individually. I'll meet with you and I'll show you around the building and show you what the supplies are, where they're stored, what we have, and if there's any questions about the trucks, what's on the trucks, what's this truck go to, what does that truck go to. I'm more than happy to do that. I mean, we want to have you be part of the process, not just sit here and really not know what we're talking about when it comes down to some of this stuff. So the last part is the capital outlay. The minuter replacement, which we have in every year, it's to replace 6 minuters. A minuter is a radio, and I don't have mine on me today, but it goes on the side of your belt, clips on. It's a voice actuated pager. So when the call comes in, dispatch tones, pushes dispatch. It's a dispatch tone. It comes over. It tones out the frequency, and it tells you where the call is, what the nature of the call is, where it is, so on and so on. It gives you updates on it. You can't talk back to it. It's just a communication device to let you know when the call's coming in. A treadmill. This is the first time we've asked for a treadmill. We have 3 treadmills right now. 2 of them are broken. We would like to replace one. This is going to go on about. Let me just give you a brief overview. We have to pay for physicals every year for the guys to make sure they're physically fit to go and fight a fire, and we get documentation from St. Raphael's Occupational Health. To go on with that, we're bringing in a nutritionist, which is a pro bono. They will offer to come in and talk to the guys and get them on some type of training program and regimen, and to keep them more active and basically more physically fit. So we try to keep the injuries down. We try to keep the injuries on the fire scene down, and to keep everybody top notch. So reason why we're asking for the treadmill and why we want it at the firehouse is because we have guys there at 6 in the morning going in working out. We have guys after work that come and work out. And what's good about it is we want the guys at the firehouse to be working out in case a call comes in or response time is lower. They're right there. They're not. If they're at the JCC, they don't have to run out, get into the car, and race up the hill, and then come in and rush it around. They're right there and ready to go. So that's something new we're asking for this year. The next thing is a barcode system for accountability. This would integrate with our software that we use for reporting, our Firehouse software. Basically, it's a barcode system. Every item in the fire department would have a barcode. It would be assigned in the computer, and then during truck crew, which we do once to twice a month, and the guys take all the equipment off the truck, they go through it, make sure it's there, make sure it works, make sure everything's top notch. This way, right now what we do is we have a checklist that we go down on paper. This way we would be able to go and scan it. If there's an issue or something's missing, it would automatically flag within the computer, and we could go back and research it, and we would have accountability for all the equipment that's over there. And the last item is a rehab fan. This is a power breezer. What you do is in the spring and in the summer, even in the fall, even really in the wintertime, not when it's cold like this, but you would actually use this because the fire gear is so hot, and when you're in a fire, your body temperature is rising. So when the guys come out, they have to get rehabbed. We usually have a medic and and an ambulance on the scene. If we have a major fire, we bring them out, we cool them down, we try to take their core body temperature down. Used to do is if somebody's really bad where the medics pushing fluid into the individual to try to cool them down and to re-energize them, because you never know when you're going to get a fire call. So the fan would do, it's a mister fan, so it's actually better than air conditioning inside the cab of the truck. It would actually take your core temperature and start dropping it in a safe manner, rather than going from an extreme hot environment to an environment of like 60 degrees inside an air-conditioned cab. So it would actually be safer and help for the rehab of the guys on the scene. So that's what that would be.
Are there any questions for Sean?
I have a question about the part-time hours going up to 29. I mean, how many of our part-timers are close to the 30 hours? I mean, because don't we normally actually cut it at around 26?
Generally, if we can, we try to keep it a little lower than 29 for that reason, so there's no creep into,
Right.
but, you know.
I mean, is there a reason that you would absolutely need to increase the amount of hours?
Just to keep up with the paperwork and everything that goes on at the fire department. I mean, we have nobody full-time there, so we try to squeeze everything into a part-time job. I know it came up at a commission meeting where we did talk about if we do need to add additional hours beyond that, maybe we would look at a second individual to come in to help offset, so it wouldn't go to a full-time position or over that 30-hour mark. So it has come up.
I'm just concerned about the liability for the town.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Next is tax collector, 1155.
Good evening. I don't know if you want to start with the tax collector and assistance positions. There's an increase. Our workload was changed a little bit. I also do small cities, but we took on all of the deposits for the entire town, which made a little bit more work. So you very generously offered to increase our salaries. There's an increase. It's general program services it's a bill from the state of Connecticut, from DMV. They research and mark all delinquent motor vehicles for us. It's extremely advantageous to us to have this program. All the towns pay for it. We pay for it based on population. Our bill this year will be somewhere around $2,200. Received a letter from the state saying it probably will be around that, but we're not sure. So I'm asking for a little bit more just to make sure we cover it. We don't actually get the bill until July. Postage, I guess everybody knows, is going up by 3 cents on Sunday, which is actually a fairly good-sized hit for us. We're asking for another $300 for that. Printing costs, we're going to be very close to that $6,200 this year, so it's a little increase there. Trips to the bank are going to increase. We get paid mileage for going down to the bank, and because we're doing more deposits, we also have more trips, which is nice. But I've asked for an increase in our educational conference programs. In our office, both Linda and I go to conferences and to the programs. We're hoping at some point OPM decides how we are going to be have a continuing education program that's recognized by the state as the assessors do. But in the meantime, we've gone to these courses and we've been given certificates, which we accumulate hours so that when they finally decide how it's going to be done, we'll be able to continue to be certified all the time. And in our office, we're both certified. It also, and there's an increase in association dues the state, we belong to the state program. We have a New Haven Association, which Linda and I are very involved in. And there's a New England Association, which we would like to become involved in, and the dues are a little bit more for that. Anybody have any questions?
Again, your
Collection rate is still not 100%, Pat. I know, every year, I know.
For an investment of $135,000.
Actually, the banks came today, so tomorrow we'll have, I only was able to get $1 million in today, I'm sorry. But we'll do about 4 tomorrow if Linda's in.
any questions for Pat in particular?
Also, I'm waiting for OPM. They still have not done that fiscal municipal analysis yet. Every year it's been later and later, and I called and they said maybe by the end of January they'd have it this year. It tells us the percentages and how we rank with other towns. When I drop to 10, I get really upset, so I want to be back up in 3. Between 3 and 7 is a good number.
Okay, as usual, great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, our assessor, 1160, which is the next tab. Our award-winning assessor, for those of you who didn't see it in the paper. You should brush your award with you.
Joe Hallower took it from me, I don't know where. It's going on some wall of shame or whatever it is, so. I'm Betsy Quist, I'm the assessor. My starting, you want me to start with assessor, Board of Assessment Appeals?
Yeah, do a section, 2060.
Okay.
Just highlight the
Major.
There's only 3, I think there's only 3 line items that there was any changes in. The first line item was the reval stipend. The only reason I asked for any type of increase, it's been 10 years since I've been doing in-house revaluations, and that the town has actually paid me a stipend to do that. And in the 10 years, the stipend has remained the same. So I thought maybe after completing my 3rd revaluation, maybe there would be some sort of increase to the stipend for me to, incentive for me to do 3 more. So that was that, and it is basically, that amount is based on the increases that the salaries have received over the last 10 years. So that was what that was based on. The car allowance increase is basically a temporary thing. I'm kind of blowing that line item out of proportion because of doing the revaluation. Tony and I have agreed that everything that is done for revaluation, postage, car allowance, anything that's done, should be done on my general, and if it goes over and my line items or my bottom line can't sustain it, it will bounce into the capital fund that we have for revaluation. But he said just to keep going on the general line item. It's just more to keep track of that, to see how it is. I mean, again, if that's the route you want to go and you want to keep going on the general line item, then that's kind of a moot point. But I noticed that I'm way over on that, and whether, that matters or not. And then the last one is the office. A year ago, we got a color copier in our office, which has been a great asset to everybody, I think, that's been using it. And last year I asked for an increase to cover that. It was denied, but it's apparent that I don't have a line item that really sustains that. So I'm trying to be able to put it into a line item so it will be just from one place. I'm kind of jockeying between line items, printing and binding and office to sort of cover it. So I'm really kind of trying to find it a home so that it comes from one place and it makes it easier for Pat because, it comes through. So, and those are really the only 3, I think they're the only 3 changes. Everything else remained the same, or, there was a little increase in printing and binding, but I think that's also the copier. So I'm kind of, again, it's about $2,000 a year for the copier for the lease. So maybe if we can kind of find a home for it somewhere within there, that would be good for me and for Pat too. And then other than that, I don't think anything else increased or changed at all. So if you want to decrease something, then
Questions for Betsy? All right, let's move on then to assessment appeals, which is, do we really have to?
do we have a system? Well, yeah, there's a change in that because the 14-15 will include the revaluation appeals. And if some of you don't know, the Board of Assessment Appeals is the only board that is regulated by statute that actually gets paid. So, as you see, during revaluation, we expect, and in history, have many more appeals. So that's why there's more money in the line item for the regular. And then there is also more money in the clerk, because obviously the clerk has to work longer. Now, Karen helped me out a little bit because I had an other, but it says other on mine, and I don't know what it says on the one that she has. When the board comes, as you guys have the luxury sometimes too, they do night meetings, they come at 6 o'clock, they're rushing from their jobs. We do offer them, a meal or something. So the other line item is to cover stuff like that for them. So, okay, so it says meeting supplies, okay, yeah, all right, so that's what it says, okay.
Any questions on this one?
Okay, thank you.
And, one thing, the legal ads, we are required to do local paper, but during revaluation, we do the New Haven Register as a courtesy because it's an important process. So we normally don't have anything in legal ads, but during revaluation, we try to make sure we cover as many bases as we can so the taxpayers are notified. So that's why that changed. Thank you.
Okay. So the first one is the center.
Center, yeah.
1190. And there's no increase, but why don't you maybe just
Sure.
enlighten us as
There's
to what
actually,
exactly this code
the
is?
center is just
Center
the
building.
the utility costs essentially for the center building. And I think the one opportunity here is that natural gas line. This was submitted earlier by the facilities department. And I think as we move forward on this, you'll see last year, albeit it was half a year, it was 12,000, and you'll see the first column there for natural gas. So I'm anticipating there'll be some savings in that line. So as we go through this next column, I'm anticipating a reduction there.
So you're going to adjust a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of these, as I go through, I'll look at the department requests and see how they compare to last year. Are there any changes or any adjustments we can make?
Why don't you share with everybody what we talked about the other day as far as the the fire department is still on oil.
Right.
And I asked Tony, when are we going to convert to gas? And I guess it's coming out to be a lot more expensive.
It was.
And the payback based on the amount of oil they use. So Tony's looking for
We went-
more reasonable.
Yeah, we went out to bid for it and it was very expensive, so we're trying to figure out why that was the
The
case.
conversion cost was very expensive?
Yeah. Compared to all the other conversions we did,
Right.
it's ridiculous.
So why it was so expensive and what options are available.
Their equipment is brand new, why should it be so expensive?
Apparently there was a lot of pipe replacement throughout the building. I don't know all the details, that's why I haven't brought it
Pipe
up yet.
replacement because it's converting to natural gas?
Yeah, from the size of the pipe, I guess, compared to propane versus, I gotta find out some of this
The
information.
conversion was, what'd you say, 85,000?
Yeah.
That was the bid? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Didn't Brad say that might cause a little complication because of where the oil tank is right in front of the building, and if they needed to fill that, it might be very costly? Didn't he bring that up as a possible problem?
That was for the removal of the oil tank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, if you go over, or you have to fill it, and if you could fill it, great, if
Yeah, we
not.
talked about filling it.
He said, that might be a tricky one because it's right next to the building
That's
the
true.
way it is, and that might be a. So does that
Those
something?
are
that-
separate.
They're separate. yeah.
They're separate, but is that something that the gas company may help in any way or offer some kind of assistance
could.
on the conversion?
They could, they bring the meter, they bring it up to the meter, and then we have to do the building, internal costs in the building, but
I'm
Yeah.
saying if you presented back to the gas company saying this was a much higher cost than we thought, is there possibly something,
Not sure.
some program they may offer to get you to go over to gas?
It's a good question.
You know, maybe they
I'm not
offer
sure,
some kind
yeah.
of.
They may.
Well, I think he put it out to bid, thinking it was gonna come back like the rest of them.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
He went into a
Right.
state of shock when he saw the
I
bid,
did.
so I don't understand it. Yeah.
I did, yeah.
You have the bids?
Yeah.
Did they give you a scope of work?
They do. We have scope of work, bids, the whole,
Who did the bidding, who bidded on the conversion?
I don't remember, there was 4 or 5 bidders.
Can I take a look at that?
Sure, yeah.
You're gonna be in a state of shock.
No, I'm not gonna be in a state of shock.
Well, he's in a state of shock that it's as expensive as it is, because, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
Just
It's all new equipment.
$80,000 sounds okay.
Okay, so the center basically is,
Yeah,
you're gonna be
center's-
adjusting natural gas.
Right.
I was gonna ask you that question. Okay, next is the former fire station, which is
The next
next
tab.
tab, and
Yeah.
again, it's
There's
just
nothing
minimal.
here. This is, right, this is the minimal, cost here.
Okay, I don't think anybody has any questions on that. 1110 Board of Selectmen, and we have to do capital too.
Yeah, I think the only thing in capital for the Board of Selectmen is there's, annually, we put in there as for a planning tool, open space money.
Yeah.
And that's more of a planning tool for you to,
And that's down the road, there's nothing in the current.
Nothing in the
anyway.
current year, right.
Okay. So as far as the Board of Selectmen, it's mostly,
there's a few things I can bring to your attention. First is the second line, which is the administrative officer, and that's where the assistant administrative officer position would be. So that's the second line there.
and you're currently interviewing people?
Correct, yeah. So that's one item there. Small increase in general professional services, $2,500. That's the line that we have EAP for our employees, and we have support for a charter and ordinance updates, tech support and updates for the charter, or for ordinances and for that sort of thing. And then other professional services that may be required by the board for various services. Other purchase services goes up by $2,000. This is the line where a lot of items are purchased through the selectman's office for a number of things. That includes everything from the holiday party to to flu shots, to evictions, to the partial reimbursement to have the trees. If you remember from the meeting, you did award allowed to have the trees on the
For the holiday
for the holiday tree sale, right?
The Boy Scouts.
Just a number of things that come up, all come from this department, from this line. So
What is that?
other purchase services, 54700.
What sort of evictions do?
Evictions, right?
Addiction.
Evictions.
Yeah.
So if somebody's evicted,
We do the
we
physical
have,
part.
right,
Yeah.
we have to actually do that part, and then store all the stuff until,
You didn't get your notice, Dave? Pardon me? You didn't get your notice yet?
we haven't had too many actually lately, but there was a while where we were getting quite a few.
Are there any questions on that?
I have a couple of questions.
ahead.
Sure.
actually. So in terms of the labor negotiations,
Mhm.
obviously, the projection is, $6,000 more than
Right.
what we had originally
Right.
budgeted.
Right.
And
These
why
were,
is
these were
that?
labor negotiations and town council services were both increases that were given earlier in the year.
Okay.
And we did transfers for both
Okay.
of those, so that's
Okay.
what those are.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I noticed the police department also had an increase.
Similar for
Yes,
police,
I guess
correct.
it was split.
Correct,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
Okay, and then the administrative officer position is
Mm-hmm.
a different type of position then, and therefore you're
It's-
recruiting for different
Correct.
type
It's
of
probably should change the
individual?
title of the
Should be-
account too.
Yeah, that would be good.
We
Yeah.
actually caught that today.
Okay, and I see that there's money there for the census, and I just want to bring this up again. Could we somehow ask for people's email addresses, if they're willing to give
Well,
them
I'll make
to
a note
us?
of that, yeah.
So
Great.
that we can start to do something more with our website and pushing out information instead of just asking. people.
Absolutely. Very
So-
good idea.
Great idea.
I will ask the census.
Yeah, we'd have to change the form somehow, just, because I think most people would give their email address, and that would be of tremendous use to us in many ways.
Yes, we've put forms at every desk we can think of, but I don't think there's a lot of uptake.
Okay, any other questions on Board of Selectmen? All right, then probate is contract, it's state statute,
Right.
13.5.
It's our contribution to the
Yeah. We're told
Derby
that-
Regional Probate Court, which is located in Ansonia.
Love every minute of that.
And general admin, 1140.
General admin
Biggest item
has,
in there, of course, is our
Insurance.
liability insurance.
Right.
Which could change possibly.
it could, although that one was pretty tight. I think that one could change, and so could natural gas.
Right.
They could go down.
Could go down. I'm not sure about property insurance, though. That may not go down. That might be where we are. But natural gas might go down.
So you're gonna look in general at all the
Absolutely.
natural gas.
Absolutely. All the utilities I do.
And then there's capital for general admin. Which is a new recording system for the,
Yes. For this room.
that thing that's sitting in front of Karen?
That's
Why
right.
is that so needed?
For more of a digital recording system as opposed to all that.
So you don't have to flip, go running and flipping the discs.
Tapes.
do over there,
Tapes,
Joe?
right?
All in favor?
Okay, any questions on anything to do with general admin?
I do have a question, actually. Is the recording system also meant to be an amplification?
Jerry's the expert on that, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can
I'm
find out.
just curious, because that's been brought up before.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great
Good question.
question, because it should be programmed in there.
Absolutely. What?
It's, you get me every time, Susan.
All right, next is 1145, which is our information systems, which Tony monitors this also. Why don't you just run through this?
I will,
Tony?
yep. In info systems, there is a few things that we've increased. The first is data processing, and that's to account for a general increase in sort of the use of our consultant. We have a third-party consultant located here in Woodbridge that helps us with all of our data processing needs. Karen and I do as much as we can in-house, but as demands increase, there's less and less of that we can do. So we have our data processing firm help us with that. Also, we have the Public Works facility, which is going to have a computer room, and so there will be a little increase there for some ongoing support for that. So those are sort of the two things that have impacted that line.
Is this the same person that police and fire use?
Police uses the same firm. We
Okay.
use the same firm. Fire uses a different firm. So the town and the police department use the same
Okay.
same firm, Woodbridge firm.
Could we ask him to bid?
We certainly could. We could certainly do that,
Just see what he
yeah.
would come back with.
Good idea. Anything else, Tony?
Yes. The software maintenance are contractual increases mostly to our software contracts for various munis and tax collector, tax assessor. Those are sort of standard increases that we're seeing from those departments. There was a very little one last year, but this year we're seeing a little more. There's a decrease in telephone as the town looks to possibly get on the Nutmeg network. I don't know if anyone's heard of the Nutmeg network,
What is that?
but it's a statewide high-speed internet connection that's being installed in a fiber connection. It's being installed in all area towns. And it's primarily in the police right now. It's being rolled out to police departments as part of the public safety data network and sort of converting 911 to fiber. And I'm by far an expert at this. It's owned by, it's installed by the state if it's police. Town has to install their own fiber. The lucky thing for us is that our town fiber connection and our police fiber are like 2 feet apart from each other. So we just connect the two and we're all set. Some towns are, their police fiber and their town campus are miles apart, and so they'll have issues. This is the same network that the schools are already on. They call it the Connecticut Education Network, right? So we have a grant to pay for the first year of connection charges and all of the equipment to connect to the Nutmeg Network.
Wow.
So we think it's a tremendous opportunity for us, and we're looking to do that. And then we have, we're a little behind on our computer plan to purchase PCs. We have most of our PCs, would you say, Karen, are 5 years old? 6 years old, maybe?
Some of ours are going on 6,
Yeah.
or on 6.
So we're a little behind the curve on that a little.
Not quite as quick as Beecher, huh?
Not quite.
So,
So
they're taking the hit on that.
generally, we found that ours are the last ones to get replaced. So I thought we'd catch up a little
If
on
people ever
that.
want to see computers, take a walk through Beecher Road School. Go to that computer lab, it'll blow you away. And I mean, screens like this, it's like, you think you're in college.
We get ours off state contract, and we use
In college, the screens are like this.
All right.
Because they're all in your.
You got to see this computer lab they have over
No, I
there.
have seen it. It's amazing.
Very impressive.
And finally, there's a UPS replacement for Town Hall, which is an uninterrupted power supply. That's the last item.
Okay, any questions on information systems? And finally, finance. This is Tony's department.
Should look at this very critically.
Yes. First thing we're going to
It's
cut.
one of many departments.
One increase that I did this year, if you remember the past few years, is that banking line.
Yeah.
We were hoping that the the earnings credit rate would be increasing, and it has not. And that's basically when we have our funds, is we have, the way our banks work is, as money comes into the bank, we transfer it out into an investment. But while it's in the bank, it earns float, which we then use to pay for fees. But the float rate is so low that you used to pay for mostly all of our banking charges, but now it's a hard price for hardly any of it, because you've all experienced these low rates. So,
This has been going on for years.
yeah.
All right.
And every year we transfer money in there, and I think it's about time we had to put it in
Right,
the budget.
yeah, I think you're right. It's wishful thinking.
It was.
And staffing remains the same.
Yeah, there was some increases awarded earlier in the year, which are reflective here, and then there's some redistribution from regular clerical to assistants.
Any questions for finance department? Okay, that concludes our agenda. We have another ambitious agenda for Tuesday. So rest up. Hopefully there won't be any snow to keep us from coming. And we'll see you all then.
Thank you.